What are the yardsticks of spiritual growth? How can I assess myself? How do I know whether somebody is grown or not? It's important for us to know the yardsticks really more out of not misunderstanding them. Many people have, for lack of better words, a strange understanding of spirituality. They think spiritual people may do miracles. Spiritual people don't need to do any miracles. All of this is anyway a miracle. Every bit of what is going on is a miracle. A child is born is a miracle. Everything is growing, the whole cosmos is operating, it's a miracle. Spiritual people don't need to do any further miracles. If we cannot see the miracle in the banana, a fabulously wrapped fruit brought to us, can't see a miracle in that. It would be gross to want to see a pigeon coming out of somewhere. So people have unusual concepts of what a spiritual person is. Is he a miracle monger? Is he somebody who's always simple? Does he always speak sweetly to people? Not sure if any of these would fit the growth of a human being. When a person grows up, when he matures, when he's a spiritually developed person, how would such a person be? What would he be like? His primary characteristic, his or her primary characteristic would be love. There can be no spiritual person without love. Love meaning a universal oneness, a love that overflows its boundaries, as it were, in being able to feel loving towards everybody. Everybody doesn't include only humans. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Adveshta sarva bhutanam. Advesha, no dvesha, no dislike. Sarva, all bhutanams, all beings. For the mosquito, for the alligator, for your neighbor, for your mother-in-law, all beings. Every being you feel the same oneness as you would towards your own family. As we grow in this feeling of universal oneness, of universal affection, this is the primary characteristic of a spiritually developed person. An immature person, a person who is not spiritually developed, is capable of loving just a few people. Few people because only those who cater to him. Those who are according to the way he thinks people should be. A spiritually developed person can see that there's a place for everything in this world. Different views, different ideas, different moralities. There's a place for everything. It's a cosmos, it's all working together. One man's food is another man's poison. It's interesting that what is something that is discarded by us humans is food for other creatures, and what is discarded by them is food for us. The plants give out oxygen. It is their discarded matter. We take that oxygen, give out carbon dioxide. It is our waste product. The plant takes our waste product. We take the plant's waste product. Who is to determine what is necessary and what is not necessary? The whole thing works together as a whole. A mature person can see that and does not make his love dependent on conditions. So the first and primary characteristic of a spiritually grown person is universal affection. The second criteria, which actually comes more or less close to it, is the quality of independence or self-sufficiency. A spiritually developed person is not dependent upon other people. He is not dependent upon other people or circumstances or situations for his happiness. He is not dependent for his knowledge. He is not dependent His love is not dependent on how they are. He is not dependent on others. He stands as a rock by himself. He is self-sufficient. A plant is dependent upon the world. It needs water at its roots to survive. An animal is also dependent upon the world, but less dependent because it can go to water and drink water. A human being is designed to be independent, and yet we are so totally dependent on everything. Someone's rude remark is enough to wreck our day. Some share market goes up, goes down, I'm going up, I'm going down. We are human beings. We are not a popcorn on a hot tawa. We need not jump up and down. A spiritually developed person is self-sufficient. He's independent. The third characteristic of such a person, obviously, would be that he's very cheerful. At all times he's cheerful, because what will take his cheer away? He is inherently cheerful. He doesn't need a laughing club. He doesn't need to practice laughing. He is inherently cheerful. He is cheerful because there is nothing and nobody who can take his happiness away. So he's just cheerful. Imagine Krishna, a life full of problems. From the day he's born in the jail. In infancy, he has to fight demons. Then he has to go and dethrone the king and place another king on the throne. And then he gets involved in a war that he's got absolutely nothing to do with. Whoever wins, nothing's happening to him. All his life, endless problems. And yet, when you think of Krishna, you never think of a person with problems. You think of this person who's always cheerful, who's nutcut, mischievous. He's so full of fun, so full of life. Hallmark of spiritual growth. Cheerful. The great Swami Ramatirtha says, if you're unhappy, it's a social, moral and religious crime. If you're unhappy, go lock yourself in a room and don't show your face to the world, lest you may contaminate it. It takes a harsh stance, as it were, a dramatic stance. Because happiness should be my birthright. I have to be happy at all times. This is just my birthright. So a spiritual person is always happy. He's a cheerful person. The next characteristic of a spiritual person is that they're very active. They're dynamic. They can get things done. In other words, they don't have laziness in them. They don't have procrastination in them. They don't feel sorry for themselves. They don't wait for other people to come and do stuff for them. They are active. They are dynamic. In the Gita, a bhakta is described by the Lord. He says, my good bhakta. What is his description? He's a daksha. Daksha means somebody who's prompt, who's efficient, who is punctual, who's skillful. He's just good at whatever he does. So a spiritually dynamic person, a spiritually grown person is very dynamic. So how many have we covered so far? He is loving, he is independent, he is cheerful, he is dynamic, and he is very objective in life. He doesn't get carried away by anybody or anything. We tend to get carried away by things. In good circumstances, we'll get carried away with that. In bad circumstances, we get carried away with that. We are like a pebble in a stream shaped by environment. A spiritually developed person is an objective person. He simply doesn't get carried away. He uses his own head to think about whatever the situation is and takes action accordingly. That is why the Lord Ganesha is shown with an elephant's head, meaning to show that spiritually grown people have a large head. In other words, their head is actually being used. So a spiritually developed person is objective. These are the few characteristics that make a person, that tell of a person's spiritual growth. These are not things we practice so much as we are, because we are mature people. So these 5 would be some of the characteristics of a spiritually developed individual.